Hi guys, my name is Jen Lampton and I'm about to do a quick tutorial on how to port your tests for a Drupal module so that they'll work on a Backdrop module. I think I have a pretty good example here. So let me see if I can go ahead and share my screen. Here it is. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to share everything. You guys get to see how messy my desktop is. All right, I think we're here. All right, so the module that I'm working on porting is Autocomplete Widgets, which is something that I really love in Drupal 7 and I'd like to use in Backdrop. And I basically have a working version of the Autocomplete Widgets module on my Backdrop site. I've done everything except for port the tests. So I'm going to show you guys how I normally port the tests. So I'm going to start here with the Autocomplete Widgets module has a tests directory inside of it, and it has an autocomplete widgets.test file. So what I've done is I've added a new file that's called autocomplete_widgets.tests.info. And when I first started here, this file was completely empty. There wasn't anything here. I just added it. But what I've done is I've copied in an example test definition from the meta tag module, just so I have something to follow as an example. So in the tests file, the first thing I'm going to start with is the name of the class that's defined. I'm going to put that within square brackets at the top of my tests.info file. And then most Drupal tests have a getInfo function. Let's see if this one has one. This first one doesn't look like it does. So we'll skip that one, we'll come back to it. Here the second one does, so let's start with that. So here the class Autocomplete Widgets allowed values test. We're going to start with that one instead. So inside that getInfo function, there is a name defined, and you'll notice that in our info file we have a name line that's required. So I'm just going to put in the name here. Same thing, there's a matching description line. So we'll grab the description and we'll put it in the description line. And then there's a group line, so group here we'll put in there as well. And then the one thing that's different is there's a file line here. And the file is the name of the file that contains the test. So in this case, it's going to be Autocomplete Widgets. So that should be enough to register this test with the system. So if I go to configuration development testing, there should be something here for autocomplete widgets. That's only there because it found the information about the allowed values widget test. We just added allowed values widget right here. So I could go ahead and run this test right now. It would probably fail, but we could try it and see what happened. It would give us some things to go through one at a time and fix. But I know for sure that there's a lot of Drupal in here that needs to be replaced with Backdrop. So that's one thing I could start doing. But before I start doing that, I'm just going to see if there are any other tests in here that need to be ported. So here's a autocomplete widgets field data test. So we're going to add that one too. So in the same way, square bracket followed by all the stuff we know we need, including here's the getInfo function. So here's the name we want to copy over. We'll put that in here, name. And we have descriptions. We'll copy the description as well. Description goes in here. And group should be the same, autocomplete widgets, which it is, and then the file is the same. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that getInfo function so we don't need that anymore. And then I'm going to check for another class. So one thing I like to do too is my code editor lets me like collapse functions. So this kind of gives you a way to keep track of like the ones you've added and the ones you haven't. So I'm going to add this third test here in the same way. Name of test followed by all of this stuff. So info function, name, suggested values widget. So we're going to go ahead and add that one. We add the description. And you can see that the group is the same for this one as well. So I'll plunk in the description. That's why I like to copy and paste them here. It saves me a lot of different copying and pasting. Get rid of the setup functions. Now we know we've done that one. Here's the fourth test, Autocomplete Widgets Node Reference Test. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, copy. So I don't know if this will work because it probably depends on a module that we aren't going to be using in Backdrop, but I feel like in general it's a good idea to keep code around that you might need later. It's pretty easy to remove it if that has to happen. It is harder to add it back. So we'll leave it for now. If we need to remove it later, we can. Same thing here. We're going to delete the info function. Okay. Now we've done all of the tests, and these, you can see they are extending the Autocomplete Widgets base test. And then this one at the top that didn't have a get info, that was the Autocomplete Widgets base test. So it makes sense. It's not a test that needs to be run in the same way for all the other ones. It's just a base class for everything else. So now that we've added everything into our tests.info file, if we reload the tests page, it should now find, ooh, we have to flush the caches. It should find all 4 of those tests that we have added. So there they are. So then usually what I like to do after I port the tests is I run the entire test suite and see what fails. And then if only one of them fails, I can go back and rerun that one for my debugging so it's faster, but at least gives me sort of a complete run all the way through. Before I actually run these tests though, I mentioned earlier that there was a lot of Drupal that needed to be converted to Backdrop. The tests in particular are really heavy on using the word Drupal because it's in almost all of the internal test helper functions. So when we forked Drupal to Backdrop, we changed the word Drupal to the word Backdrop. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a global find and replace. I'm going to make it case sensitive though, so that I don't accidentally replace lowercase Drupals with uppercase Drupals. So there's the uppercase one, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Find and replace lowercase Drupal with lowercase Backdrop. Find, replace all. Okay. Now I'm hoping it will mostly work, but if there's any changes in like URLs between Drupal and Backdrop, that kind of stuff is usually what you end up catching here and fixing. So let's go ahead and run them all. Run tests and see what happens. I'm not sure how long this will take. Sometimes it takes a really long time, sometimes it's really fast. We will see. Maybe I'll pause the video and we can see where we end up when we're done. Maybe not. I don't know how to pause the video. So we're going to just let it run and see what happens. So far, so good. No fails. This is cheating a little bit because the node reference module, or sorry, the Autocomplete Widgets module was so similar between Drupal and Backdrop. All they really changed was like some indentation and documentation stuff, and it mostly worked after changing the info class. So the fact that this all passed is not really surprising because nothing really changed. So that's great. That is how you port a test. In general, it's pretty straightforward. You just copy and paste something that was in the get info method in Drupal into the Backdrop version, which is the tests.info file. And the reason that we did this is because we didn't want anything to have to automatically scan PHP code to pull out information that might be valid, or to be able, would have to like load classes in order to get the information that we need just to build a listing of tests. So the info files is the method that we use to do that for modules, so it made sense to do the same method for tests. So it's a little bit more performant, it's a little less error prone, and it is a change, so there's an API change there, but hopefully people will find that for the better in the long run. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Ta-da! All right. Well, thanks guys for watching. Hopefully that answers your questions on how to port a test to Backdrop CMS. See you guys later.